First up, we're asking if a secret report whether it could derail HS2, the £50 billion high-speed line that no one aside from the condemned seems to want. Well, it's claimed that ministers have employed emergency powers last used to keep Tony Blair's Iraq war papers secret to suppress a Wharton report into HS2. Why? To protect civil servants and their supposedly impartial advice. I just want to know how that sits with you, the people who are going to be paying for HS2. So, do you want to see this report? Do you think you have the right to see this report?
2 years ago, 9% of people were against HS2. But how many are against it today? 13, 33 or 53%? Find out after the break. The answer is 53%.
I'm not particularly surprised, I have to say. Welcome back. You're into our last show of the week with Alexis Conran, Wheatley and Jim Davidson, fresh from the Big Brother house. He's going to bring you all the headlines shortly, but first, for most of today's papers, actually we're asking if a secret report whether it could derail HS2, the £50 billion high-speed train line no one, it seems, aside from the condoms, actually wants built. 027 555, the number again. Whitehall ministers have employed emergency powers last used to keep Tony Blair's Iraq war papers secret to suppress a Wharton report into the project. Why? Well, it's apparently to protect civil servants and their supposedly impartial advice. The report, which was filed 2 years back, is apparently full of frank comments from people who actually work on the project, who were encouraged to let rip, even if it meant criticising their bosses. Now, ministers argue that they were promised these comments would never be made public. Publishing the report would undermine future reviews because staff would be more guarded about what they might say. Anti-HS2 campaigners, though, applied to see the report under the Freedom of Information Act, but had their request shot down by this emergency veto, which has to be rubber-stamped by the Cabinet. Lest you've forgotten, the HS2 project will shave 32 whole minutes off the journey from London to Birmingham, but it's often been criticised as a waste of money at a time when the public are feeling the pinch. Why not improve our roads instead? Experts claim the railway line could destroy 109 miles of countryside, disrupt 81,000 homes, 27 wildlife sites across the country are threatened by the route. And it's not like it's just around the corner either. The line to Birmingham is supposed to be finished by 2026, 2033 before it gets to Manchester. HS2 originally priced at £33 billion, then £40 billion, now £50 billion. Does anyone really believe £50 billion will be the final bill? No. And with so much money, your precious taxes, on the table to pay for what may be an unwanted railway, how many of you back the government's emergency veto? Don't we have a right to know how our money is being spent? Isn't that what David Cameron promised when he talked about a new era of transparency? I just wonder how you might feel to know that it's not in the public's interest, to know the nitty-gritty of a project which the Mirror claims is being poorly managed and based on a risky timetable with successful delivery in doubt. Alexis.
God.
Your right to know. You pay your tax. You pay your tax. Well, I have a vested interest. It's going under my house.
It's going under your house. I know. Well, no, it's not affecting me, but
it is because it's taking your.
It's taking my money. Yes. Now look, there's two things. I think for that amount of money, you should be getting. It just seems ridiculous that you're getting just this one tiny line. I mean, I do. The one thing I know this bears no fact with this situation, but I do think we do need an improvement of our rail services. That has to be said. But we're being misled as to this is, oh, we're improving rail service. No, you're not. You're improving a journey between London and Birmingham.
You say misled. Now, obviously, in order to be led accurately, we need to know what's going on.
Yeah, I'm also a little bit confused. Don't civil servants work for us? Right. Therefore, I mean, without wishing to be rude, but they do as a government that's been voted in decides. So I don't really care whether civil servants will feel that their opinion that they thought was going to be secret is now made public.
Yeah, it's a civil services. Are civil servants worth more than £50 billion?
Yeah, that is their job, to give the advice, and that advice needs to be transparent, as Mr. Cameron would like to have us believe. So I think this is disgraceful. But I do think, looking at Europe and other countries, that the fact that we don't have a good rail service makes the whole country London-centric. You can't live outside of London if you want to take part in certain businesses, like you can do in Germany and in France. And I think £50 billion for one line is ridiculous.
Yeah. I tell you what worries me, Rebecca, is when you hear that the emergency veto last used to suppress papers relating to Tony Blair and the illegal invasion of Iraq, which I find slightly curious and slightly troubling.
They've said it's an exceptional case, and it really has. I mean, when I was reading through all the stuff, I thought, this cannot be the exceptional case where we absolutely cannot know. I thought it would be higher that people would object than 53%. I thought
it's
more
growing,
people
though.
would object to it.
500% increase in a couple of years.
I mean, it is my brother actually works for the train lines, and no, he doesn't.
Boo. It's not Richard Branson, is it?
No. But no, he's much lower down. But the difficulty in selling tickets, in the pricing of the tickets, and I think that he would say, it will be an expensive line to travel on. So even if they make it will be extortionate. It will be very, very exclusive in a way, because it prices it out. So we'll all be trundling on. We won't use it.
Don't you want to know if it's being managed properly, if the costs are justified, if the people that are working on it believe the project works? Don't you want to know that?
Of course. I think it's awful. I don't want it. I don't know who wants it. I really don't. I think, as Alexis says, we need to put money into a train system that people want to use, that runs on times, and with a way of buying tickets that you actually can understand that that's the price of the ticket, whether you buy it on the day, whether you buy it 6 months before. You need a degree to buy a ticket. I can buy a ticket for £5.
I've got a degree and I've struggled, just so you know.
Them things you do that with?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A new era of transparency. That's what David Cameron has said it on more than one occasion, actually.
Yeah.
Is secret repressing reports into how £50 billion of our money. Is that a new era of transparency?
Well, I just think that if it was transparent, we'd all laugh and say, no, we're not having it. I mean, really, if you look at the facts, and as much as I love Birmingham and the people in it, what are you going to do with that extra half hour when you get there? Is it worth 50 billion quid? You know what I'm saying?
Do you know, lovely Shazia, who's one of our regular panellists, lives in Birmingham. She doesn't even want to get there quicker.
It's a waste of taxpayers' money when we've got aircraft carriers to build. No, it is a waste of little joke. I think let's spend it on the rail network, because, you know, I get from Winchester to go up to London. You stood up like that. It costs an absolute fortune. How young people can live outside of London and go into London to work is beyond me. And, you know, and you can't get in the first-class carriage because it's full of politicians, and you can't, and it's too expensive. I think the plan is for this is that, okay, it's too dear to live in London, let's try and get people to go and live in the Midlands or somewhere like that so they can afford their own houses and get the economy started, but then we'll make sure they can get home half an hour before so they can see the 6 o'clock news instead of the 6:30.
So Birmingham will be like the new Croydon.
Birmingham will be the new Milton Keynes. I think that's what they're looking at, and it's a lovely place, Birmingham. 50 billion. Waste of money.
And your gut instinct is that if a government resorts to emergency powers to suppress a report into something like this, it's because it's got bad news.
Yeah. Well, you don't suppress good news, do you?
No.
And I go on the trains a lot because I'm always in between driving licences. so it means a lot to me. And it's just too dear.
Can I tell you how long it took me on Sunday to get from Brighton to London from door to door?
How long?
On a Sunday, 4 hours on a 50-minute journey.
You could do it in one of them old antique cars from London to Brighton.
Exactly, I could have walked it.
There's a radio ad, and it's about a bloke who commutes in 41 minutes every day, and he works out the price and how many hours he does, and he said Phileas Fogg got round the world quicker than he gets into work from his commute.
Unbelievable.
He only wants to get to Charing Cross.
How fast is this HR2 thing, or whatever it's called? How fast is it going to be when there's leaves on the line then, or a bit of snow?
I wish I could tell you, but that information is
secret. And when's HR? Then we'll have HR3. It's like HD television. You get HD3, HD plus, 3D, 4D, HD plus. I want a 3-dimensional train system so I can get on it.
Right, so the panel, I think, are united. After the break, we're going to hear from you. Do you think you should have the right to see what's in the secret report into HS2? We are paying for it, after all. 027 173 5555. That's the number you need, and we'll talk some more in a smidge under 4.
HS2 is going to cost £50 billion and will shave 32 minutes off the journey time from London to Birmingham. How much is that per minute saved? 150,000, 1.5 million or £1.5 billion?